Welcome to the Ages of Rock podcast with your hosts, Bill Algie, Dennis Talbot, and Alan Tate. We are three guys who have one thing in common, a love of rock and roll. Our goal is to talk about all things rock. We hope you find this show intriguing, funny, and occasionally highly opinionated. Enjoy! Hey folks, this is episode number 309, and this week we have our friend Julian Gill on, and he's going to talk about his book, Aerosmith on Tour 1973 to 1985, and we're all going to discuss our top 5 1970s era Aerosmith songs. How's it going, Julian?
Going very well. I got a bet going on which one of you falls asleep first.
I'm good.
I'm probably going to win.
Well, see, really it should be Dennis because Dennis is the oldest one.
That's true. But I haven't had supper yet. I've got to cook supper and we're done. So I gotta like make little pizzas on the Blackstone. So
little pizzas on the Blackstone.
Yeah.
I had manwich and French fries, so I'm set. Anyway, we've already started this session wrong. So what you got going on, Julian? Tell us about your book.
All right. So I got to do the pictorial. Aerosmith on Tour 1973 to 85 is a 612-page book focused on the touring history of Aerosmith in the 70s. It's the era that most fans, our age group, will care about, covering the originals. So, you can check it out on Amazon. I've got a website run aerosmithontour.com about it. It's got a ton of narrative sections, a ton of nuggets. There's a lot of this is kind of cool. There's a lot of Kiss stories in there. If you've ever heard of the kind of hoo-ha Aerosmith and Kiss had, well, now you get the Aerosmith side of that story. I'm talking with the roadies who worked with the band. So for any Kiss fans out there, if you've only ever heard the Kiss side, now you get to flip over to the other side and maybe build up a better picture of it. So it's an all-intensive kind of dig into the history, just brief introductory chapters about the albums, and then getting into what I enjoy the most, touring history, reviews, how much every critic hated the band, and how they're still here 50 years later, just like a lot of the bands we love.
Cool. Well, let's go back, Julian, to the comment about the other side of the Kiss saga with Aerosmith, because there's two sides. I thought there was only the Kiss side. What are you talking about? How could there be two sides?
Well, of course, there's only one right side of the story, and I guess you had to.
That's
be
correct.
But you get to hear about what led to Sean Delaney smacking someone.
Wow.
About the territorial pissing that went on between two up and coming bands, one out of Boston, one out of New York. And kind of fighting for turf on the stage. And there's only 2 times that they shared the stage in the 70s. And, one was in a kind of a nowhere place, and the other was in Detroit. So 2 very colorful stories. The story starts in the backwoods, and that's where Sean Delaney hit someone. And it escalated when they got together again in Detroit. So it's really kind of interesting. Also, you get some stories about some of the roadies who later worked with Kiss, one of whom was coming to try and get a job with Aerosmith, who they didn't have any spots open on their crew. And so they pointed him towards Kiss.
So this is basically just like the basically like your first book, the Kiss book, basically the dates and the it's completely similar to that, and Kiss Alive Forever, obviously in the same vein. And the book I did on Def Leppard on the tour dates, it walks you through, but there's a lot more interview minutia in this. I was fortunate to go through it with Kelly Kelleher, who was their tour chief throughout from 73 on. His first weekend working with the band gets a gun pulled, so very colorful stories from that side of the equation. David Krebs went through my book with me and added a lot of stories, and on the day before publication came up with the actual date that he signed the band. Wow. Which was fantastic in terms of minute detail and everything, just like Kiss with dates. People have been wrong for 40 years plus on that side of things. And then Night Bob. I mean, everyone knows who Night Bob is in terms of sound production for live bands. So there's a lot more of that than there is in the Kiss book that I did, because I kept that very narrowly focused on just the touring history. And I've even got Tommy Thayer and Eric Singer. Eric Singer obviously was Midwest and went to see a lot of these bands in that area, so he chimed in with his memories. So there's a lot more kind of connective tissue in the Aerosmith book.
Okay. So what I was going to get to was it a hard process to get all these dates down? I mean, is it pretty well as far as because sometimes there was like you said trying to find a lot of these, even the Kiss dates. There's been multiple books done on these. I don't really know of another book that's done this with the Aerosmith. So was there a lot of work to do, or was it pretty easy to find these dates, or to corroborate when all these things happened?
It was horrendous. Obviously with the Kiss stuff, there was 25 years of effort going back to before Kurt and Jeff did Kiss Alive Forever, that I was working independently. And then obviously they published their work, and I was able to reverse engineer and go back through my stuff and correct. And a lot of online and film resources became available for that. But a lot of the tricks of the trade I learned. The Kiss book is my apprenticeship to Aerosmith, because no one had ever done anything like this before. For Aerosmith, gone into this sort of detail that what Kiss Alive Forever and hopefully My On Tour is for Kiss in publishing a definitive, or as definitive as possible, as history is always being fact checked. This is that for Aerosmith.
So have they seen the book? Have you got any feedback from them in any way, shape, or form? Are they getting an endorsement, a glowing endorsement?
A band will never endorse an unofficial product, and I would never expect or hope that they would. I have sent copies, just like I have always done with Kiss, to a business office, and I leave it at that. I will never discuss anything that I may hear about any reaction from a band member unless they say it on tape for themselves. It just wouldn't be fair to them. Again, it's an unofficial and unsanctioned book, and that gives me a certain scope to go into areas that I want to go, that they may not necessarily care about or want to go. What I will say is that it does not go into dirt. That's all been covered in their official autobiographies, and that's the best place for it. So I don't try and correct any of that. What I do try and correct is some of the dates and the conflated memories that they published in their autobiographies. If I can find the specific date, like when they're woodshedding in 1972 at a hotel, I found the ads for that. Then that's where we connect. But as far as, whether Joey or Joe or anyone has read it and what do they think, frankly, I don't think that matters, because they were the ones living it, and I'm the one who's documenting it. So we're two different parties telling the same story.
Cool.
That is cool. So I know whenever I saw here a while back, and I'm sure it was before the book was published or printed out, but you and Andy went up into some areas up there, did a little discovery on your own, going around to these different places, venues, early places where they played. That did you find out a lot of stuff from doing that? Actually, boots on the ground type shit.
Boots on the ground for Aerosmith was so much more rewarding than with Kiss, because the places are still there. I got to stand on the second ever stage that Aerosmith performed on. They let us up there. Thank goodness Andy was with me, because Andy is extrovert. I am pretty shy, to be honest, until you put a beer in me. We'd go into these places and he'd just barge on in. Hey, can we go upstairs and stand on the stage? They're like, yeah, okay. So Hopedale, Massachusetts, down the road from Joe's, childhood home. We're going up. I'm standing on the stage. He's like, hey, give me the camera. I'll take a picture of you up on there. So there I am, standing on Hopedale. Then we go down the road to Upton, and same thing, third ever stage or whatever it is. Going up to the barn. we bumped into someone who worked on the MTV Unplugged documentary with or Behind the Music, and gave us the phone number for the guy who ran the place. He wasn't in that day, unfortunately. So the boots on the ground for there was so valuable. Going to the high school where they played their first ever gig, and there were teachers going in. That was my very last day. And I was on my own at that point, and I didn't get a chance to do it. Going up to where Brad Whitford played his first ever show, getting pulled over by the police for speeding. They're saying, "You're going a little fast." I'm driving back from it at that point. I'm going by the Cheshire Grounds fairground. I'm like, "But Kiss played there in 1988." And this guy, "Oh, I love Kiss." It let me out of a ticket. Boots on the ground for this book was so rewarding. You can't go to the Daisy. You can't go to the Coventry for Kiss. You can't go to a lot of the places in San Francisco. You can't go to the Winterland anymore. A lot of those places in New England are still there. Going to Stephen's childhood home and just standing in the exact spot where Joe Perry pulled up in an MG and said, "We should do something together." That's just wild. That's almost like a talk to God moment. You're like, oh.
That's cool to get to experience that. Yeah. Go ahead.
That's part of it.
Was the book your idea, or did somebody suggest that you write the book? How did that come about?
It was my idea. And again, a lot of it grew out of the research with Kiss tour dates that I continued to do after Kiss Alive Forever came out, and did that so wonderfully. They gave me a lot of ideas about what I wanted to do, but I loved Aerosmith equally from day one when I got into hard rock. It's both 1985 was that year for Kiss and Aerosmith for me. That then took me backwards, and I gravitated towards the past for both of them. So it was totally my idea that I think I decided that someone needed to do this, but particularly so after the Rush book was published, because I saw how they handled the history and brought it forward for that band. And then, kind of combining that with what had been done for Kiss. And these are, again, three bands are kind of a holy trinity for 1974 that I wanted to do it. And I'd also accumulated a lot of notes going through all those newspaper archives, doing the Kiss stuff that I did. I'd see Aerosmith logos all the time, and I'd be like, save that, save that, save that, file it away. I've done that for a few bands that I've got files for. And Aerosmith's the only one that I can muster the energy to kind of go to that effort for.
Right on. How was the process different between interviewing people for your Kiss on Tour books than interviewing people for your Aerosmith on Tour books?
Very similar. These cats work in the same industry with the same attitudes, with the same work ethics. It became a little bit more challenging to get in touch with some of the Aerosmith people because, again, I've got the benefit of 2 decades worth of Kiss memos and itineraries and all that stuff. None of that existed for Aerosmith. Even people connected with the bands didn't have itineraries. So the interviews themselves were actually reasonably, I didn't get everyone I wanted, but I got everyone I needed. And, obviously the most critical being Raymond Tabano and David Krebs. Those are the key players for me to get with Night Bob. And there are some other people who don't do interviews who did for this book, which is absolutely amazing. And that just blows my mind that they were so gracious to give me the time of day as a unofficial, unsanctioned, self-published author.
Right on.
So what would be one that you didn't get? You wished your number one, I wish I could have got guy for this book.
Jimmy Crespo. Absolutely. Replacement player, who came in, who looked like Joe Perry, who played up a storm. I would love to have gotten, kind of his opinion, at least on reading. I would love to have given him the chapters that involve him for him to either nod or shake the head on, and to give him kind of that look in if he didn't want to do an interview, because again, I don't know what these folks' relationships are with the band or their own, where they are in life at this point. But to be able to do that with a David Krebs was unbelievably rewarding. But Jimmy, having come in to replace the first member to leave the band, it would have been just so amazing. And that's I kind of offset that by spending way too much money licensing a photo of him standing in front of the warehouse saying, come back, Joe, good luck, Jimmy. So I made up for it.
That's good.
When did that occur? I'm an Aerosmith-ish fan, not a huge fan. I didn't realize that Joe had left at some point.
Yeah, Joe left in 79, mid-ish,
Okay.
After what's famously known as the thrown glass of milk incident in, I think it was Cleveland. But again, I always say I've got a terrible memory. That's why I write books, to write it down. Jimmy was one of many guys who was auditioned for the band. It was kind of fortunate that he had been in a band with a fantastic female lead singer, Marge Raymond. And they had auditioned for David Krebs right at the time that Aerosmith was looking for a guitarist. And he told Jimmy, hey, you should go and audition for these guys. They've been through Schenker and a bunch of other people. And Marge is like, no. And he gets the gig.
Crazy.
Cool.
So
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. I have, like I said, a knowledge.
I knew he
but
was
not a
gone,
deep
but I
knowledge.
didn't know how many albums it was or how long of a.
Yeah,
how long of an
he
ordeal it
did
was.
a very, I think he punched in one solo on Night in the Ruts, and then he's on all of Rockin' a Hard Place.
Okay.
Great player. He then went out with Adam Baum in 85. He's played with a lot of people. Very, very talented guitar player. Just a shame he doesn't really have much of a public profile these days.
So was that at the time when Joe did his Joe Perry project then?
Yeah, Joe went out and did his Joe Perry project,
Okay.
and Jimmy came in and filled his boots for the Night in the Rut tour.
Okay.
Or right in the
I
Nut
knew
store,
it wasn't very long. I didn't know how long of a thing. I have to get the book so I can.
Yeah, you got to
Load
read.
up on this.
He did 5 years in Aerosmith.
Wow, that's crazy.
a lot of people don't realize that.
I didn't realize it was that long.
Obviously
So-
not.
When you were researching for this book, did you find anything that kind of surprised you?
Hell yeah.
And it's in the book.
Yeah. I'm not gonna kind of throw it out there because it is in the book, and I don't remember everything. That there were come to Jesus moments that I was just, wow, that person said that, or that. Okay, here's one. In 1978 in Philadelphia, there was a really, really bad review of the Aerosmith performance written by John Kalodner, who became their freaking guru in the 80s.
That's pretty funny.
That's kind of ironic, isn't it?
That is ironic.
Extremely. I was chuckling, and when one of the people I saw this, one of the people I interviewed for this saw that, because he read through one of the numerous draft copies. He was like, I'm calling Kalodner right now to tell him about this. And I'm like, that's freaking awesome. Again, just like when I do volume 2, I'd love to talk to John and have him go through, and same with Tim Collins, to talk about that side of history. But there's so much that comes out of the woodwork, even in passing, when you do these interviews for these books. And it's kind of matter of fact, because again, like I said earlier, this was part of many people's lives. So it's the things that they don't find particularly interesting, but music geeks put 2 and 2 together really quickly. When you're really into a band and you kind of know that detail, it's nice to package it all up to tell the story.
Interesting. Yeah, that is really cool.
Well,
Carry on.
you
Oh,
got
I'm
anything
sorry.
else that you would like to mention about the book before we jump into our top 5 70s Aerosmith tunes?
You'll
Yeah,
be able to
well,
say
well-
it first.
Last thing about the book is, go on Amazon, check it out. There's the reviews are all legit. I don't give free copies out to reviewers in order to solicit reviews. so you get a very honest one. David Krebs left me an interview, left me a review on Amazon, and that means the world to me what he said. And you can go there and read it for yourself, because I'm not going to try and say it off the cuff. There's some negative reviews. One guy thought it was bigger than he expected.
Wow. What a
It's the first time you'd ever heard that, probably.
You know,
I don't.
That's what she said.
I am not capable of doing little books. Hardcovers are available on aerosmithontour.com. Paperbacks are on Amazon, and I'm working on volume 2. So I'll just give you a quick peek of that. It's very early days. Haven't even started the interviews for it, but it's got cover art. It's already same thickness. So I'm nuts. Absolutely nuts.
Well, when you get to the section where they played in on the tour in '94, I saw them in Denver, so there's my review. I don't remember anything about it really, but I saw them in Denver. Collective Soul was the opener.
I don't remember who opened for him at Mesker. I think who it was.
I don't know. I seen Collective Soul open for them one of the tours. I don't know.
Was it Ted Nugent and Aerosmith maybe at Mesker? It may have been Ted. I don't remember.
Probably Ted.
Ted
always toured with them.
Oh, and Ted would come to Evansville. Hell, I seen him like one summer, like 4 times in a row. He opened for everybody. Bill's trying to tell us a story, but he's muted. Bill, you're muted. You were telling a great story. I was.
Well, I said during the summers, you either got Ted Nugent or Y&T as the opener. Like every show.
I was trying to think of who the other one was. I couldn't think of Y&T.
Joan Jett hit it. Joan Jett hit it pretty hard there for a while too.
I never saw Joan Jett.
Really?
I
saw her like 3 times.
Never.
3 times.
But it was interesting because I saw Y&T one time on a Thursday and a Sunday with 2 different bands. It's like, oh, good. Oh, we're just going to stay. We'll stay here in Evansville. Hang out a couple days.
Sorry.
Hey, do what you got to do.
Whatever.
That's
all right.
funny.
So that book can be found on Amazon, as he said, and aerosmithontour.com. Did I get that right?
Alan, you're doing so well. Good
did.
job. You even got the title right.
I typed it out before the show started, and when you said the web address the first time, I typed it real quick so I wouldn't forget it. Oh, so
You're a professional.
I have butchered other people's web addresses before, so if I can get one right out of 300 plus episodes, I'm happy.
You get the www right.
I don't even put that on there anymore.
And then the .com. You usually hit that right on the nose. It's the shit in the middle that fucks you up.
Yeah, the meat and the potatoes,
There you go.
as Uncle Gene would say.
Okay.
All right, so we will discuss our top 5 Aerosmith tunes from the 1970s, and we'll let our esteemed colleague Julian go first.
Okay, so how are you doing this? Are you doing this like from least to bestest, or just any 5?
However you want to do it.
All right, well, I'm just going to throw one out there. And there's something special about this song. It comes at the tail end of what most people will consider acceptable Aerosmith, because they'd starting to get a bit wobbly by this point. But in 1976, they went on tour in the UK. And I am convinced that Joe Perry saw punk. I'm convinced that Joe Perry decided that he was going to marry punk with slide guitar. And out of that, Draw the Line was born.
It's a good song. That I don't have mine in any order, but I'll just agree with you, Julian, on that. Draw the Line is a great song. And I'll just preface my thing with, I don't have Dream On in here. I don't have, the staple songs. I'm going for my favorites are the little different ones, but yeah, Draw the Line is a fantastic song, and that was one of my top 5 here. Bill.
Okay, Bill, it's your turn.
Ironically, Draw the Line is the only Aerosmith album I owned for years.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why, but it's true. So
well, I want to know why.
I don't know. I don't know why.
Did you buy it, or did you just?
I don't
get
know.
it from
Somebody must have given it to me or something,
Right.
But I had it forever, and forever. And I never bought another one. I don't know. Now I've went back and bought a couple things here and there, but for years. I never had. That's the only album I ever had. Now I had some CDs in the 80s and stuff like that, but for the most part, I never owned any of the back or the greatest hit stuff that was the backlog stuff. But I'm gonna have to stick with because like I said, I'm not a huge Aerosmith fan, but an Aerosmith, so I'm gonna stick with the known stuff because that's what I'm familiar with. But there you go. So my number 5, I made mine in a 5-to-1 thing, is Train Kept a Rolling. So just
wrong.
Yeah, that's my number 5.
Right on. Well, funny because 3 of the 4 of us got the first pick right because Draw the Line is my number 5 Aerosmith song. And to Bill's point about only ever having one Aerosmith album for the longest time, I've got an aunt that is 11 years older than I am, and she was all the time giving me records. And Toys in the Attic, which to this day is still my favorite Aerosmith album. And that is the only Aerosmith album that I had until I got the greatest hits package. So kind of along the same lines, I'm going to be, for the most part, with Bill and going with some of the known songs. But my first known song obviously comes off of the Aerosmith greatest hits album with the red cover, and is also Draw the Line.
Yeah, good song.
Can I change mine then so we can all match?
No, you can't do that. Don't cheat.
So what's your next pick, Julian?
All right, this is one that's got a guitar riff that I just love playing, and a lot of the songs that I dig music-wise are the ones that make me reach for a guitar, either to figure out how they're playing it or to play it. And second album, Get Your Wings, SOS, Too Bad, same old shit. Absolutely badass riff. Some other people have used similar motifs like Def Leppard and also Kiss.
Cool. Yeah, that's a good song. All right, my number 4, I'm just going to put them in order here because it'll be easier, but be Last Child. Last Child is a fantastic song. It's just, and like I said, 3 of these songs come off that Aerosmith Greatest Hits album. Imagine that. I used to have that. Actually, I had it on cassette tape, and we had our boat. That was one of the tapes, along with, I think it was the Doors' Greatest Hits that got played quite a bit. Good river music, but
that's kind of an odd combination.
It is. It was just stuff I threw in the thing, so everybody seemed to like it. So anyway, Last Child, great song.
Bill.
All right, so my number 4 is Sweet Emotion.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, good song, but it's one of those things that when I got to listen to this, I didn't realize. I mean, I don't know until I went back and started looking at it. There are some of these songs that like feel like they've lasted forever. Like they've got, you can listen to that, yeah, but they don't get played as much now. Like when we listen to, there's a rock station here in Indianapolis that plays. They very rarely ever play an Aerosmith song. And there's a lot of good ones out there they should be playing.
Sure.
But it's like, why aren't you playing that?
Right. But I'm glad they don't, because they don't burn us out on them.
No, they don't play it at all. I mean, they don't play it at,
I got
you rarely hear them, and I don't understand why.
And that could be a case there that the program director is not an Aerosmith fan.
That could be too.
Because our local classic rock station, I was friends with the program director until she moved on. And I was all the time asking her, hey, why don't you play this? Well, why don't you play this? Because I don't like it.
I don't like it.
I was like,
I ain't playing
there
shit.
are hundreds of thousands of people in Evansville that love them. I don't care. I don't like them. I ain't playing them.
And now they're playing oldies from the 1990s or noughts.
Right. Now they're playing, like, I think I mentioned this last week. I heard Nirvana's Teen Spirit on the classic rock station for the first time, and I'm like, what the hell? When did we get old?
Yeah, now we got to tune into classical. We'll be mixed in with Mozart, Beethoven, and Aerosmith.
There you go.
And Ted Nugent.
Yeah.
And Ted Nugent.
Here's a little bit of a theme of Air, followed by Wang Dan, Sweet Poontang.
Back in the 1900s, those people were really popular. It's like, God dang.
Well, for my number 4, I think I think Dennis has looked at my list, because Last Child is also my number 4 pick.
There you go. Well, it must be something in there, something good.
Must be this southwestern Indiana air.
Yeah,
It was too cold today.
it was
It
too
was
cold
cold
today. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was.
Very
Chilly.
cold.
All right, Julian, what's your number 3 or your next pick?
I
Not
think that was
necessarily.
all a little bit of subconscious love for the
Yeah.
other guitarist, Brad Whitford, of course, who doesn't
Yeah.
get enough respect.
You
I
are
had
not
sweet.
wrong.
I had some Sweetie in my list as well, because it's just one of those gotta have it songs. I'm going to the Vegas residency next month, and I look forward to hearing a standard song like that. We always complain about being bored of bands who play the hits when we go and see them live, but with Aerosmith, I want to hear Sweetie and Mr. Tom Hamilton.
Oh yeah. It's one of those songs you just don't get tired of. I'm sorry. I mean, I just really, it never gets, I'm not going to listen to that or change the station. That's all these Aerosmith songs, the main staple ones, I don't ever get tired of. They're not played it that much. They're not burned out on us, put it that way. And when they're good and they're
It's not
great
like Back in
songs.
Black for you, is it?
No. Or shoot me all night long. I can't get to the knob quick enough to turn the fucking thing off or something else. Go to the classical station at that point.
Well,
all righty.
Yeah, I'm not going to dig into the deepest of the deep when the classics rock the hell out of the house.
yeah,
That's true.
yeah. That's
All right. So my number 3, I'm going to go with some Kings and Queens. Once again, it's just one of those songs. I like Aerosmith's deeper songs. I mean, I don't get me wrong. I like the big 10-inch and all this shit and the train car, but
That's
I
what
like
she said.
Yeah.
it.
Man,
It has been recorded. It will be
as
brought up
I'm-
again.
As
Thank
I'm
you.
saying it, I'm like going, "What are you doing?" I got one of those workers in my brain back.
You could have said, "I
"Shut
like
him
the
down,
song."
Shut him down.
You could have said, "I like the song."
What was it last week? I said something. I always like a little Peter or something like that. It's like, man, I just my brain.
Hey, you know what?
I've got a
We
defective
don't
person
judge
in my
here on
brain.
this show. We don't judge here on the show. We accept all. You're welcome
Yeah.
to come just the way you are.
Well, see, the problem is now so last week I like little Peter, and then I'm like the big 10-inch. So anyway,
You graduated.
But anyway, no.
Damn, what a difference a week makes.
Kings and Queens, which is another song that comes off of. That would be the last song that comes off that song, I think, or off that record that I've
The last song that comes off of what record?
the Greatest Hits album.
Oh,
Because these all came over. But
You
no,
were
Kings
talking
and
about
Queens. I think it's just a well put together song, and it's got layers to it. It goes from that kind of slow part to the fancier or faster part. I think it's just a fantastic song. So, all right, Billy,
all right. My number
Kings and Queens
3.
is also on the Draw the Line album.
is it
Yeah.
on draw line? Okay,
Yeah.
good.
My number 3 is Same Old Song and Dance. Love that song. It's one of my.
It is.
That's
Good song.
That's one of those you hit it on to 11 when it comes on the stereo.
That's another reach for the guitar song.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Well,
Exactly.
for me, Same Old Song and Dance is number 6 on my list of 5. It was really kind of hard to narrow it down to the 5 that I really like. But this is where Dennis and I differ, because my number 3 is Back in the Saddle. And
Good song though.
well, that's,
Good
for a long time, I did internet radio for a long time, and then I stepped away from it for a while. And when I came back to internet radio, that was the first song I played.
That's a good song. Yeah, ain't nothing wrong with it.
Nope.
That song is the one that is the reason why they have to do a 5-1 mix of that album. If you've ever heard the quadraphonic of the whips and the sound effects and all the embellishments that are buried in, that thing is just magnificent. That is like the finest steed that ever rode the plains.
Wow.
That's fun. That's great.
I have to pick that up.
Wait,
All
I
right.
gotta follow it, don't I?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm on the same album, and I'm so glad that you guys picked Last Child already, because I deliberately did not. I was leaning towards that. I instead went with Rats in the Cellar,
It's a good
which
song, too.
is just kind of grungy, kind of got attitude. It's got dark. It's foreboding. It's New York City. It's Record Plant. It's I love it. Great attitude.
That is a good song. That
It's
is a
the
good
dark
song.
side.
So we're not sure
Yeah.
what you're trying to say there, Julian.
You know,
You
the
use
problem
a few
is
more
every-
adjectives. You should write a book and use a lot of
yeah,
adjectives.
no shit. He's a
To
wordsmith.
surmise, I dig.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to take Julian out of the cellar, and I'm going straight to the attic because there's some toys up there. That's my number 2 song. Toys in the attic. That shit. This. You want to talk about turn and fuck it up and grab a guitar at the same time? That is a great song. Fantastic song. I think.
All
they
right, my
named an
number-
album off of it.
Yeah. My number 2 is Back in the Saddle. So I got in the saddle. I just had to get there.
Gotcha.
I got a little higher up than you guys did.
Gotcha.
A little
My
closer
num-
to the top.
Oh, sorry.
Nope.
What?
Nope.
What?
Nothing. Got
Okay.
nothing.
All right, my number 2 is Kings and Queens. And one of my favorite parts about Kings and Queens is I don't know how to describe the guitar riff, but it kind of makes the guitar whine. And if you listen to the song Janie's Got a Gun, they do the same effect in that song.
Sort of. Yeah.
You know, and I think you know what I'm talking about as a guitar player, Dennis.
I wonder if it's an EBO that they use on that.
I don't know.
Do you know what an
What?
EBO is? An EBO? You
Yeah.
ever seen one of those? It's like it's a little thing and
It's
it
an
vibrates.
elbow without the L. Sorry.
No, they used it. It's a little instrument. It's a little piece of metal and it vibrates and they'll put it on the string and it makes that kind of.
Yeah.
They've used it for years. I mean, they've been around for years.
Provides
And I
an
just wonder if-
unusual resonance.
Yes, exactly. I just wonder if that's maybe what they. Who knows? Anyway,
Listen to the wordy wordsmith coming up with the wordy words.
I'm like he uses a vibrator. You know,
It's a vibrator for a guitar.
it is. Honey, I need your EBO. Your what?
Oh,
Your EBO.
man. All right, Julian, what's your last pick?
All right, I got to go back to the beginning. I got to have a pick from the first album.
There you go.
There is only one pick from that first one, other than the obvious choice, Mamakin.
Good song.
Excellent.
If you look at Steven's arm, you look at his tattoo that he got done. I think it was Providence, Rhode Island. That just said it all. That they were gonna make it. That whole first album. Oh man, that whole
Oh, yeah.
first album live is so much better than on the album. But Mamakin says it all. And if any of you picked up the 1971, The Road Starts Here, and to hear an embryonic version of that, it just great lyrics, great vibe.
That is a great song. Yeah, that album. I think we talked about that a little bit before Bill got on. We were talking about that. That album is fantastic. I was just listening to the Dream On that today, and it's just again, I'm like, you sit there going, that's just it's so raw, it's so simple, but it sounds so damn good. This is really good.
And it's
All
the
right.
same case for Mamakin. It's raw, but it's totally
Everything
formed.
on that-
It's just
yes.
not been kind of polished.
Sure. But it's fucking awesome. All right. So my favorite song from the 70s from Aerosmith is one that I didn't hear up until just a few years ago. And I heard it and it was on Spotify or one of those things, or maybe it was on, I think it was on like Sirius or something. But anyway, and I'm like, what is this song? And it's like, it's Aerosmith? I've never heard this song before. But it is my favorite song. Seasons of Wither. I think that is a fantastic song. The guitar work in that is so good. Another one of those songs that build up. I love it. It gives me a chill. That's how much I like that song. There you go. Billy.
Excellent
right.
pick, Dennis. Excellent
Mm.
pick.
Oh,
So for me, my number one song I picked is off the second Aerosmith record that I ever owned, which was Rocks, which is Last Child.
which is on the Greatest Hits album also.
Yeah, but I didn't have the Greatest Hits album for a long time. It
Right.
took me quite a while to get that. I don't know why.
Yeah, that
I
was
think-
the first one. I don't even know what I've got. I have to look through mine.
Yeah. So that's my number one. But I did have Julian, I did have Mama Kin on my list here. It just didn't make the top 5, but it was on the list.
Yeah.
Good.
For sure.
Fair
had taste.
enough. Well, my number one song comes from the only Aerosmith vinyl I ever own. It's the opening track. Put the needle down and just punches you right in the gut. Right in the guts. Right in what was that you said earlier? Night in the ruts, right in the nuts.
Right in the nuts.
There you go. Because pretty much that's what Toys in the Attic does. It just kicks you in the nuts and said, let's go.
That's a great song.
Cool.
Yep.
That was a fucking. So I have on vinyl right now. I have Get Your Wings, Toys in the Attic, the first Aerosmith, Night in the Ruts, and then the greatest hits. So I got 5 pieces of vinyl now of Aerosmith. But like I said before, it was just the greatest hits for years on CD.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of the vinyl. I think I've got like 5 copies of the first album, a few
Right.
copies of live bootleg. But again, growing up in the era where cassettes were coming into preeminence, most of my stuff was cassette based. So I'm kind of lucky in that way.
That's
Yep.
cool.
I totally understand the cassette era.
But I mean, is this like with us
Recording
us
off the
5?
radio.
Yeah, no kidding. Mixtapes. But no, with us 4, 5 songs. I mean, nobody's gonna sit here and go, well, that song sucks. Every one of us. I mean, it's like there's not really a bad. Is there a bad Aerosmith song?
Literally, those first 5 albums, and
Right.
Can't be faulted. Yeah, you can nitpick away at some of the stuff on Draw the Line because that
Right.
comes at a bad time in their history, but
Right.
they're still coming, and Jack Douglas is a big part of that album, particularly, but they're still putting out Kings and Queens.
Right.
Sure, they're putting out some kind of dodgy titled singles like Get It Up. I mean,
Sure.
who wants to sing along to Can't Get It Up? Want to get it up. That's just a little bit too tongue in cheek, but it's just classic eras of bands are classic eras for a reason. That the
Right.
vast majority of that material is just stunning.
I've got Pump. I don't think I have Permanent Vacations. I do have Pump, and I got it through Columbia House. It was one of my monthly ones, and I forgot to send the fucker back, so I kept it. But I just have no need or want or desire to get any of that stuff past Permanent Vacations. I mean, it's not that it's horrible music. It just doesn't, for me, it doesn't do anything. It's too polished.
Too poppy.
It's too poppy and too polished.
Yeah.
But
So question, did you guys see them on the Kiss tour when they did the co-headlining thing?
I didn't.
What were your thoughts, Julian?
Too short a set list. Too difficult to be following Kiss. Horrendous that both were kind of distilled down to such a neutered set list. And if you look at Kisses and you look at Aerosmith, Aerosmith won the battle on throwing in a few gems. I got what I wanted. I got Let the Music Do the Talking on my set. So I went to 2 shows on that tour. So I got what I needed out of it, but it wasn't satisfying. It's like going to, you order a 1-foot-long Subway, but you get a 6-inch. It just, it ain't that big 10-inch record.
There you go.
Yep. Yeah, I saw it in Indianapolis, and I was just shocked that Kiss played, and there was this mass exodus. It was at a shed show, and there was just this.
So Kiss opened for Smith.
Kiss open, yeah, and
Okay.
it was. I think it was Stained.
Now,
Was
if
it?
you listen to Gene Simmons, we
I know.
co-headline.
I know.
Yeah, whatever.
But I'm
So it
saying
was-
who went first?
I think it was Stained, if I'm not mistaken. Stained.
Wasn't it
and then-
Saliva?
Oh, it could have been Saliva. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was that. Yeah, that's right. So it was them, and then Kiss, and then Aerosmith, and Kiss. In my opinion, I mean, people just left, and then when Aerosmith came on, what I got out of it was mostly that honkin' on Bobo album that
Oh,
is
geez.
what they played mostly when I saw them. Or at least that's what I remember. And I was like, this is not what I expected. I expected a greatest hits package, and that's not really what I felt like I got. That was what I was hoping for.
And that's what Aerosmith has continued to do so well. in that, these two separate and distinctive parts of their careers, they mix it up a hell of a lot more than Kiss ever did. Kiss had a period where in the 90 and 92, they had 25 song set lists that had a really good balance of the two eras of that band. Aerosmith has balanced it much more now that they can, or when they last toured, they were still throwing in songs that you just wouldn't expect to hear. And they did that year. They did it, all the years going forward, with much better balance. And that's probably what has differentiated them and Kiss, in that they have balance being two different bands much better than Kiss has managed to balance being two different bands, an unmasked era and a masked era and a remasked era. So you feel it a lot more with Kiss, but you also kind of accept it with Kiss a lot easier than you would with Aerosmith.
Gotcha.
If you're a fan.
It's an interesting take.
Yeah.
So you didn't see them, Bill, at Mesker then, right before Permanent Vacations came out?
No.
Okay, I figured you may have seen that show.
I don't remember what year that was, but I didn't see.
Yeah, it would have been 86, probably.
No, it'd have been up here.
Oh, you already left then. Okay.
Yeah, you guys missed some hot shows, 86, 87. And tail end of Done with Mirrors, they were a mess, but they were, still putting out a really good balanced set list. I mean,
Their
were
live
still
show was really good. I was impressed. I was
they were
impressed.
still throwing in stuff like Red House, which Joe had done live, and that was his kind of solo vocal spot. And they'd done that on some shows back in the Seattle tour in 84, 85. And then Permanent Vacation, they really mixed the two eras well. And that's kind of the last tour for me where they really had a little bit more bias to the 70s, because a lot of that stuff didn't take off until Angel hit, and that's in 88. So once Angel hits, that's just
it's all over.
Well, yeah, it's MTV era.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Interesting.
Cool.
Well, Julian,
Fantastic.
Thanks for coming on. Tell everybody again. I'll let you give your web address this time. I won't steal your thunder.
Oh, you were doing so well. It's aerosmithontour.com. Again, the hardback is signed. It comes with some photos from the tour that I took of New England, of me standing on stages. So if you want a picture of me standing on a stage, well, you can get a signed hardcover from aerosmithontour.com. And if not, go to Amazon and get the paperback. And there's one really bad review. Some guy got a misprint, so he gave me like 1 star. Like it's my fault. If you purchase my book or anyone's book from Amazon and there is an issue with it, return the fucker, please, because they will take care of you. That is Amazon's whole reason for living.
Yep.
Exactly.
For sure.
Awesome.
All right. Well, people, visit agesofrock.com. Check out our past episodes and our social media links. And until next time, peace out. Thanks for listening to the Ages of Rock podcast. If you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, and most importantly, tell all your friends. Remember, you're never too old to rock. Until the next episode, peace out, folks.